Hey friends, this is Bobby Shanks, author of the book Undateable, now available on Amazon. And if you want to go and buy a copy, just do a search by my name, the author Bobby Shanks, or the book title. And hey, do me a quick favor. If you read this book and you like it, please go and write a review on Amazon because I'd love to get your feedback. Also, be sure to join us now on TikTok because we have a lot of really fun clips going on there. And without further ado, I am going to introduce our show's producer, Ian Brown. What's up, my man?
How's everyone doing out there?
Awesome. And next, I want to introduce today's guest host that I'm super duper excited to have here. Her name is I Am Just Shan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon.
Okay. So, Shannon, tell us who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about you.
Oh, man. Okay, so I'm Shannon. I'm from Minnesota, and nobody will ask, just Shannon. Nobody asks me, nobody who knows me says, tell me a little bit about yourself, because that is an open-ended question, and there won't be any time for the show. So I'll help you get to know about me as the show goes on. How's that?
Okay, so one of the things I really like about Shannon, because we've known each other for several months now, and she's been not only very involved with, we've been chatting on social media, but you're like an idea factory. I can't believe you're like an evil genius when it comes to ideas as far as my show or dating or the topics and things like that. So it's nice to finally be able to have you on the show. So, Ian, let's get started with, I don't know, how about a little requested or rejected?
So our first topic, we're going to start with long distance relationships. Do you like them? Do you not like them? What do you think?
Go, Bobby, go. What do you have to say?
I will say it's properly rated.
What does that mean?
So I think that there's like three types of long distance relationships. And I'm totally shooting from the hip here, okay? So number one is the type of long distance relationship where it's a drive, but it's like really doable. So let's say that that's an hour or two. Second type of long distance relationship is somebody who's like 4 to 6 hours, where it's like close enough to drive and not fly, but damn, it's a haul. Like you're not going to go there every day. It's going to be once a week, maybe, or every other week. And then number three is that person that is clearly just like it's an airplane ride every time. So to say requested or rejected on long distance relationships, so instead of LTR, which I joked about on the show before, we'll call it LDR, long distance relationship. Category 1, requested. Category 2, depends. Category number 3, rejected. See how I decided that?
Huh.
Don't be a hater.
I would say for me in general, I'm going to add a fourth category. So, I know. I mean, in my life experience, I feel like I've been in a long distance relationship with someone who lived under the same roof. And so when I think about, Yeah, when I think about
that's a mind blower, Shannon. Wow. Let that sink in for a minute. Jeez.
yeah. So there's geography, and then there's the heart. And so if I'm in a relationship with somebody who is maybe geographically distant, but the heart is there for both of us. Like I would say, like my first response is I reject long distance relationships in general, but I would take into regard, or I would explore if my heart is in it with someone, no matter where they're at in the world, I'll do what it takes to make it work. So, it depends on the person. For the right person, I would go through that. But I feel like I've been in long distance relationships for most of my life experience, really. So I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready to be under the same roof with someone who shares the same heart for who we are.
That is amazing. I actually learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from you every time we talked. I really appreciate that. So I simply don't have anything better to add to that. That's pretty much perfect all by itself.
So when you say you're in a long distance relationship, but you're still on the same, house or roof, or you're close, explain what that means for people.
You can be in a relationship married to someone that the relationship becomes so dysfunctional, distant, that geographically you might be, in a committed relationship under the same roof, but you feel worlds away. And like, if I talk too much about this topic, I'll probably cry. But it's a real thing, and it's not unique to me, and it's not unique to a lot of viewers. So I have great compassion for people who are in that situation. It's a hard place to be. I mean, that's why I say I would reject a long distance relationship. Geographically, I'll do it. But especially like when the heart isn't there, when the relationship is no longer there, it's so hard.
Yeah. It's one thing to be lonely and alone.
Yeah.
And that sucks, right? Because if you're single and you're an adult, you know what that feeling is like. Mm-hmm. Even if you're well adjusted to it, you still know what it's like, right? Those feelings come and go, especially around holidays, or, if you've ever taken a vacation by yourself, like to Cancun or something, yeah, like you know. Yeah. But it is a whole other universe to be lonely when somebody's laying right next to you.
Yeah.
That is terrible. Been there. A lot of people have been there.
Yeah.
Great point. Great point. What else?
Let's talk about being friends or becoming friends after you're done dating.
Ooh.
Request it or reject it.
I get to go first this time?
Sure. No, you go first.
What did you say? You request it?
Yeah, very much so.
I think that it's when I hear that question, I think my first inclination is yes, I would love for that to happen. And then the more that I sit with that question, I have other thoughts. So you go first, Bobby, and share what your thoughts are, and then I'll. pick up the pieces.
Okay. So if two people who are dating, in my opinion, okay, right, I've said this before, there's no absolutes, this is about averages. If there are two people who are dating and they are truly honest with each other the whole time, the little things, the big things, whether they've dated for 2 weeks, 2 months, or even 2 years, if they have truly been honest with each other about their feelings, needs, wants, it doesn't matter. If they've just been honest, then as so long as neither party has done something to disrupt the harmony of the relationship, like something bad, cheating,
Mm-hmm.
right, for example. And I'm not even saying that is 100% necessarily the exception. But if two people have been 100% honest with each other, then there's really no reason why they can't be friends after the separation. Now, there's a lot of circumstances that come with that.
Right.
Were you married and now divorced? Were you were you childhood sweethearts and now you're in your 40s and try it again? Like there's so much other things that complicate it and add additional spice to the recipe over and beyond just my answer.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sam?
I think like I take people's lives seriously. I take my life seriously. I don't want to hurt anyone, nor do I want to be hurt. And when you are dating, there's always the risk of being hurt or hurting someone. And if you're like me, like if I feel like, ooh, this isn't the right relationship for me, and I feel like I'm gonna hurt somebody, that hurts me too. And so it always feels better to be able to say, well, let's be friends, and I mean that when I say that. But I feel like the reality is that, yeah, like you said, Bobby, like, if you're married, depending on, what's all entailed for how that came to an end. Like I want to be friendly. The context of the dating relationship, the length of the dating relationship,
Okay.
those are all factors, but I also feel like it matters then, like when you start a new relationship, is your new
There you go.
is your new boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, spouse, eventually, are they okay with you being friends with people that you've dated in the past? And
Yeah.
and it's not that the heart of them might not be okay with it. It might be the reality is that some of us have been in relationships where there has been infidelity or trust issues or things of that nature. So so even though I myself might feel capable and good and ready and, oh yeah, let's be friends. Like, it's not just my heart anymore, when I'm in a relationship with someone else. And so it's good to factor all of those things in. And then, it doesn't have to be complicated. It just gets different, and you
Yeah.
make different decisions because you prioritize what matters most to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you add a third party,
Yeah.
right? If you break up with somebody, or they break up with you, and you just kind of go along your merry way single, it's fine. Or it can be fine. It doesn't have to be that complex. you can choose to not answer the call or not answer the text message, which, by the way, is called submarining. Have we talked about that?
I don't know.
Right? Submarining is where, hey, I'm interested in you, and maybe we date for a minute or whatever, but then you go underwater, and then 6 months comes by. Boop, 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 up Periscope. Hey, what you up to? I call that submarine. But when you add a new significant other to the mix, it definitely makes things complicated for sure.
Yeah, and it could change. It can change the dynamic even for two people who are friends beyond like a dating relationship. If one of them starts to date someone, it could cause, like, you might not realize there are lingering feelings or something there too. Those could, pop up, and it can get complicated. You might not be able to be friends.
Yeah, true that.
But,
okay, so hold on.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay.
Have you had that happen where, right, we don't have to be too specific here, where you attempted to move on and say, hey, it's okay, we tried, it just, we just weren't the right match, it's okay, let's be friends. And then did that work, or was there friction, or it was like here's the little birdie, I'm never talking to you again? The friend zone is tricky. Friend zone is the no man's land.
I have had that. Yep, I've had that situation where I've been willing to be friends beyond a dating relationship, and the other person made a comment that that he still needed to have a sense that I accepted that there wasn't a relationship, and then maybe he could be friends. and I remember being kind of confused by that. Like, it's like, well, so yeah, like, we're not dating. That's been made pretty clear. So I don't even know if I've still like fully understood, like, yeah, I accept that. Like, there's no choice really, but like, I feel like I've processed that concept quite a bit, because I feel like we make adjustments like throughout the course of time. So I can make adjustments to what used to be to what is now. Like, I can, and I accept that has to happen. But I think I'm somebody who, when you truly like love somebody, it doesn't have to be reciprocated. You just love that person. When you're in love is when two people are, loving each other, with all that they've got, but I can love people who don't love me back. I accept that. I always feel bummed, like, when I just think, oh, like when there's a wall put up, like, oh, but I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm still sitting with that question. Like, yeah, so for example, like, I've been married and divorced. I don't know if I accept the fact that I'm divorced. That wasn't my intention going into the marriage. It's not what I wanted. It's not the outcome I was hoping for. It's heartbreaking, it's like, oh, I don't accept that, but it happened, And so life goes on, and I adjust, and it's like, oh, I accept it's part of my story. But there's a grieving process involved. I know, like, acceptance is the final stage of grieving. I get that. But there's certain times in my life where I look back and I'm like, oh, and it doesn't even have to be like in the context of relationships. It's like, there's things that, decisions I've made in the workplace, or different friendships, or, parenting mistakes I've made. And I look back, I'm like, oh, I can forgive myself for not knowing what I didn't know before I learned them, learned the thing. I can forgive myself for those things and, be gracious along the way. But, I don't know if this makes sense to you, Bobby. Like, does it make sense? Am I making sense? Do you have that?
Yeah, of course it makes sense. Yeah.
All right. So our last requested or rejected is 50 Shades of Grey.
Why does this keep coming up? Who cares?
Who cares? So you reject it?
Okay. Here's the deal. I believe that whatever a happily committed couple wants to do inside the four walls of their home, where they are both in agreement, right? Consensuality, they should do it. Flamethrowers, chains, whips, chips, dips, whatever your thing. I mean, and here's the thing: I'm kind of a monogamous guy. That's how I roll. So it would just be the two. Then do what you want to do, right? Don't feel guilty about that shit. If you want to get freaky, you want to, I want to be careful about what I say here too. But I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. Period. I don't. In fact, I promote it. I think people should do it because one of the cool things about sex and intimacy is, like if you play a sport, okay, you play football, you play baseball, you play cricket, whatever. There's only certain number of ways to play that game, right? There's rules.
Right.
But when it comes to sex and intimacy between a happily committed monogamous couple, you can spend a lifetime exploring the boundaries. And I think people should. What say you, Shannon?
What say I? I say that it is interesting where your mind went when that topic was because so it's interesting because I just listened to you because so when Ian said 50 Shades, it seems like you thought like S&M. Am I right?
No, not necessarily, okay. but that's not ruled out either.
Okay. So where did your mind go? Like the context of that. Like you went to.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you exactly what I thought. So, yeah. I hope that our audience will appreciate this. So in the context of a mature relationship, especially a mature marriage, mm-hmm. And this is a show for singles, but our demographic is a lot of people that are divorced. So people will get this. A lot of people will cite a little or even a lot the staleness of their intimacy in the context of their husband and wife relationship. And upon exiting that relationship, for whatever the reason was, they will say and therefore seek out a relationship for whatever time in the future that is more open for interpretation, shall we say, outside the vanilla. There you go.
Okay. So when Ian mentioned the topic, yeah, I think You're welcome. When Ian said 50 Shades, like my brain, and probably, I don't know if it's because I'm female or what, but it went to the story of like 50 Shades of Grey. So the storyline. And for the longest, it's a taboo topic. It's a great topic. I feel like to talk about, because I know different friends, populations, people reviews I've read, things like that. Some people won't read the books, watch the shows because of what they hear about the storyline. But truly,
so enlighten us. Tell us what you're getting at.
Yeah,
if it's not about the crazy red room, fun, fuzzy handcuff, whips and chips, chains and dips, sex, what is it between Anna and Christian that you're getting at?
Thank you. It's their relationship. It's their how they communicate. So I was one of those people where I'm like, I'm not going to read the books. I'm not going to watch these movies. So I was late to the game. But then one day I opened, the book and the first book, and I read a couple pages, and then it's a page turner. Then I read a couple more, and then, within a couple days I read the series, because they were all released by the time I got around to it. And I fell in love with their love story.
Okay. Which character do you like the most?
I think I like both. I like both characters. I
know that, but I asked which one you like the most.
I think I relate to Anastasia Steele.
Why?
She kind of marches to the beat of her own drum. She was not intimidated by Christian Grey. And she wasn't afraid to be who she is. Mm-hmm. So I could relate to her. And in some ways I aspired to be like her. But what I really appreciated about the story, because it is marketed, and the things that you would hear, it's like, oh, it's, S&M and it is the red room, and, how dare women be submissive in in the new millennium. And just all the things you would hear about it. But really, for those people who take the time to know the story of Anastasia and Christian, it's a beautiful love story where, they come to the table and say, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm not comfortable with. They embark on this relationship journey. And then the beauty of it for me is that when I watch it, I'm like, oh, they're making adjustments for each other along the way. And they'll hit like a roadblock and something will blow up, and then they'll come back together and redefine the relationship. And, they go through a couple occasions of doing that. And you can just see the healing happen before your eyes. And there are things from, for all of us, like from our childhoods, that we carry into our relationships as adults that we have to, I shouldn't say have to, but, we're invited to look at those parts of ourselves from before and how our early lives affect us now and what we're going to do about it and how that plays out in relationships. So, it's a beautiful story to me. I love their love story. And I don't want to give away the ending for those who haven't seen it, but I highly encourage people to give it a chance. And it's so much more than what the hype was about.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to take your word for it because I have not seen nor read any one of them.
Well, why are you even commenting? What are you? Just kidding.
Because you brought it up.
It's so good. It is so good. It's so good.
Just because I haven't read it or seen it doesn't mean that I don't have an opinion based upon the highlights and all of the hype that came around it. Now, to be fair, I do not have the understanding that you have, because I haven't seen it or read it. But I will say this about Hollywood, okay? Hollywood is genius at taking a controversial topic and putting the right amount of peanut butter on it to make it palatable for the masses.
Yep.
And I think 50 Shades of Grey is an example of that. But I think there are Disney movies that are an example of that too.
Right,
so.
right.
Yeah.
Well, can I take a risk here?
Yeah, please do.
I've thought about Dakota Johnson, who plays Anastasia Steele. I've thought about her in the same way I've thought about you, Bobby. Because and at one point in one of our conversations, you said, "Oh, like I don't know if my family's going to talk to me after this book," you know, because you reveal some things that you're like, I don't know what everyone's going to think, but here it is, you know, and I haven't read your book either, you know, but I did think about Dakota Johnson because her parents, Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson, like, at least from the last time I heard, they don't want to watch the movies because she's the lead actress, right? They don't want to see that. And I'm just like, oh, like, I've kind of thought, really? I mean, I get it as a parent, like that would be maybe uncomfortable to watch your child in that kind of a movie, but like, oh, she does such a great job, you know? So I always felt like, gosh, I wish they could kind of get over that. They're actors too. They get it. They get how this world works. You know, I wish they could get over that and just see like her and her doing her thing, you know? But I've thought about that with you. I'm like, oh, I haven't read your book. I don't know. So I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm like, oh, I just hope that whoever you might be concerned about reading it or whatever, like, I hope they read it. Because I feel like when you take the time to share your story with a larger audience, like there's so much heart in that. Like I would be bummed if people missed, you know, you conveying your heart to others. So anyway.
Well, thank you.
That was my segue.
Appreciate that. I have a topic never heard before, and you made it up. We talked about it, and it's pendulum dating.
Yes.
What is that?
All right. Well, so I feel like I've observed this thing happen where somebody will date a person and that relationship for whatever reason doesn't work out for the long haul. So then they break up and then the person dates somebody completely different or opposite than the person before. And so there's this like swing to the other side. Yeah.
I'm going to make a confession.
Yes.
I'm going to raise both hands. I've done it.
What? Okay, tell me.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But, oh my gosh, have I done it? I've gone from the short, athletic, stocky, black-haired Italian girl to the tall, blonde, slender, blue-eyed. I've gone from docile and gentle and prim and proper to the opposite of all that.
So
I've done it. I'm guilty. I'm just being honest. I'm totally guilty. I've done it.
Thank you for your honesty. So what?
But I have more to add to that.
What? Okay, but before you add more, what message do you think that conveys? Like,
am I going to get a therapy bill after this is over?
Nope.
What message does that convey to me, or who am I conveying a message to? The people.
What what message does that convey in general?
Well, do you have an answer, or do you want to know what my answer is? I feel like you have an answer. What is your answer?
Yeah, you're right. I just thought like, okay, so yeah, I asked a question, but I'm like, oh, like it causes me to wonder, like, does Bobby Shanks know what he's looking for?
That is one answer.
Okay.
But here's the thing that's important about this, and it's why it's a topic why I want to bring it up on the show.
Yeah.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you made this up, right? Like, this is your concept, pendulum dating, because I've never heard it anywhere else.
Yeah, I haven't either, I guess. But
all right, so you've heard it here. Yeah. Shannon Kitzberger, the inventor of pendulum dating. It's a real deal. It's a real thing. And I believe that people do it. And I'm not saying I do it anymore, but I'm saying I have done it. People do it because they are exploring their interests.
Okay.
As one answer. That's one answer. People do it because, so here's answer number 2, possibly. People do it because they want to play. They want to goof off and not be serious about a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. And so there is excitement, Shannon. There's a lot of excitement in someone who's your polar opposite. And when I say polar opposite, if you're here in the center, that polar opposite could be somebody all the way over here or somebody all the way over here. Right. So it's not just one person, if you're left, they're right. It's you, if you consider yourself the middle. So there's a couple of examples. Now, educate us in as much detail as you can on what your take on it is. Pendulum dating. Shannon Kitzberger, the inventor.
No, I feel like I did not invent it. I feel like I've observed it.
Yeah. Well, so you've invented it.
I coined the term, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so what I feel like I've observed is that I've observed people date somebody who fits kind of categories on one side, and then if that doesn't work out, they'll swing to this other side and date the opposite of who they dated before. And so the answer I feel like lies somewhere probably between the two. Like there's reasons why we date certain people, but
so they're swingers. That's what you're saying.
What'd you say?
They're swingers.
Yeah, they're swingers.
I'm just joking.
That's a fun. That's a funnier joke than we have time for.
Right.
To explain. But I think that at the heart of what I believe I observe is just that it feels chaotic. Like I observe others go through, like, it's like time and energy and effort like is poured into investing in these relationships that kind of seem all over the place. And so what, as I've thought about them, like, well, gosh, how could they save themselves this heartache and pain and others, that are impacted by this? And so I've just thought, like, okay, like if a relationship comes to an end, how do you kind of ground yourself so that you're not all over the place? And
okay, how do you ground yourself? How do you do that?
How do I personally do that?
Well, no. Okay. No, not necessarily.
In general.
But in your professional opinion, because you are qualified to have one. Yeah. What is a good method for someone to ground themselves? What do you recommend?
Okay. I think many of us have heard the phrase hurt people hurt people.
True that.
And I think that the process of dating, we open ourselves up to somebody. And so when, however that comes to an end, that hurts, and so to be mindful of that so that we don't take this hurt that happened here and bring that into another situation. Our world, there's a lot of hurting people in our world. And
well, hold on.
yes.
In our world, what world? What do you mean? Single people?
I mean, just in general,
Okay.
Yeah, single people. But so I have kids. Okay. So if I'm dating somebody and I'm investing time and energy and resources into exploring if this could be a long-term committed relationship, all of my most valuable resources that I'm pouring into exploring this possibility means that I'm not using those resources for my kids. It impacts them every time I'm, on my phone, sending 2 thumbs, sending a message, is me looking down at my phone and not in the eyes of my kids.
And how does that make you feel?
What a cliche question. How does that make me feel? It makes me feel, dang it. Good question. It makes me feel torn. It makes me feel torn. Okay. It makes me feel torn because like, how long do we have, Bobby? I mean, in my heart of heart, all right, in my heart of heart is a girl who wants to fall in love and stay in love forever.
Yeah.
I'm that little girl. At my age right now, she's still in there.
Yes,
and so she's there. And then I look up and I see my children who are little girls and a boy who's not a boy anymore. But, the relationships that we engage in affect our kids. So when I say like the world that we live in, of course it involves singles and, people who are dating, but it involves, our coworkers, it involves our families, it involves, like I said, our children. The impact is great. And I, without going into detail, I experience the human debris of broken relationships every day. And
holy crap, that's like a moment to pause. I've actually never heard that before. Is that a common term? Human debris?
Well, I guess I haven't. I've called it that. I don't think I've heard other people call it that, but I feel like that's what I experience is the impact, the impact of when we invest ourselves into things that don't come to fruition, and we have to start over and start over and start over. Hurt begats hurt. At some point, I just feel like, we have to get it right. Like it's I feel like a deep sense of responsibility for myself to be intentional, to, walk, not run. I've been in relationships that haven't worked out. I'm done with that. I've looked, I've looked at my friends and family and kids, and I've looked people in the eye and said, I can't afford to get this wrong this time. I can't afford it. And I'm not talking money. It's not that. It's my heart can't afford, my kids can't afford, my friends can't afford. And so that can cause, like, I say this seriously, like, even right now, I'm serious. I can't afford to get it wrong. And I know that when I say that, the kind of pressure that must feel like I might put on somebody. But what I really am saying is that I take this seriously because I know that hurt begats hurt. I know that if we, this pendulum swing, bouncing all over the place, if we don't come back to a grounded, centered, healed as much as we know how to heal on our own place before we re-engage in the process, we can cause human debris.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I say this with compassion, with great compassion, because I don't think we intend to do that. But that's what happens, And so, my remedy for not bouncing around is to really take a deep breath, feel the pain of what happened and why it didn't work. Feel that pain as fully as you can, and go through what it takes to come back to it. Remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself that just because this didn't work or that didn't work or that didn't work doesn't mean that little boy or girl inside of you who used to dream about how life might be someday, like, that life is still possible. Even after these things have happened, like, we can still, have life turn out that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes we, like, I've heard you say, like, never settle, or, know your worth, or be willing, and all that. Like, every day is an opportunity to remind ourselves, like, who are we before the world told us who to be? Like, who are we in our heart before these hard things happened in our lives? Like, tap into that place of who we are in our hearts and honor that and fight for that. Like, fight for the kid inside you who has big dreams and, is willing to, like, go after them. And we're not going after those dreams, without experience at this age. Like, we've learned some things the hard way. That's why I'm like, don't give up. Like, keep going, stay the course. Like, I'm wearing my shirt, half hood, half holy. Like, the holy part of it is like, the story doesn't end at the cross. The hard things that happen, that's not where the story ends. Like, we might have a cross in every church, but why don't we have an open tomb on every church? Like, the resurrection, there's a happy ending here. Like, that, I don't want to come this far just to come this far. Like, I want to come this far, take what I've learned, and then not get it wrong this time.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you had a friend,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'm probably going to say a gal pal who was pendulum dating.
Yeah.
And you felt like it was time to say something to her, and you felt like she was the type of friend that would listen.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give her? Look, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
I know.
Right? You're sitting there having coffee.
Yeah.
And her name's, Jill. Jill.
Yeah.
Babe. Look, I got to tell you something because I love you. Here it is.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've actually done that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had it done to me. Oh, yeah. One time. Oh, yeah. One time it was done to me. That's a different show.
Okay. So I wasn't pausing because I was overthinking it. I just had to pause a minute because it's pretty deep.
Yeah, it is. But keep it simple.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah.
Like, here's what I need you to know.
Yeah. I guess I would reveal I would share what I'm observing, and express my concern, so I would share that. But honestly, Bobby, it's not about what, like, I'll probably cry when I say this. It's not about what I would say to that friend. It's about what you do. There's like no word, like I'm going to cry. Like there's no words that are going to help. I've thought a lot about, like the Bible verses that talk about serving or helping the widows and the orphans,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not, I believe there's men that fall into this category too, who, so I'm just talking in generalities here, but there's a reason why, like two are better than one. And when you're raising a family, there's a reason why tag teaming as, parents, that dynamic, that helps. You need a break. There's someone else there to help pick up, hopefully. If not, that's tricky. Like, for me, sometimes I've thought about this. I thought, my husband, didn't die. And now I'm like super conscious because there might be viewers where that is their reality, and I want to be sensitive and not flippant about this analogy that I'm using. But but the relationship died.
Yeah.
And so I've thought, man, I feel like a widow in that regard. I need help.
Yeah, it's a death.
I need help. Like right now I have things outside my garage that have been there for over a year because I don't have a trailer to move them. And I can't, I look around and I'm waiting. I'm like, I just want to move this stuff out of my yard and I can't find anyone to move it. Simple stuff. I'm sitting in my basement that my gutters fell off my house and during a rainy season. And then, the water's all weird. And so it's creeping up in my floor. And then who rips out the carpet? I do. Who calls to find someone else to like lay the new carpet? And who makes jokes the whole time about, I can't find someone to lay my carpet. But then, and it is frustrating. And so what do? I go to the store, I go to Menards, and I get, one of those, whatever knives, not an X-Acto knife, whatever, those box cutting knives. I don't even know what this stuff is called.
Utility knife.
Thank you. Utility knife. And, and I cut my carpet out and I wait. And at this whole time, like all the stuff is moved into corners and I can't find things. And I'm like looking for things for my kids, for work, whatever. And I go to Menards. I'm like, I'm just going to get stupid peel and stick tiles and do this my dang self. Cause I don't have anyone to do it. Like, so when you say, what do you say to a friend? I say, I get it. I think, because kind of the sister topic to pendulum swinging is like another topic, kind of like, I think I call it like upcycling. Like if you go through this kind of a relationship, ideally it would be good to learn whatever needed to be learned from that life experience and then be able to apply it to your next relationship so that so it's better than before.
My question is that when you say that you've, been less of yourself through relationships or through the years or whatever, and in your profile, you wanted to spotlight that. I think that was the word you used. Yeah. And you asked him the question, what that means to him. What was his answer?
What was his answer?
Mm-hmm.
How
did he respond to your question? And I know that this is really personal and intimate for you, so I don't want you to like give away the farm, but what can you say?
All right. Yeah, I was going to say like, I think it's okay to say, you know, when I asked the question, I didn't have like an answer in mind that I was looking for, like in that moment. But I can say that when he responded, it found very like deep places in my heart. Like to say, yeah, tell me, you know, you could say, tell me about what about religion and spirituality interests you? Oh my gosh, like there's as many answers as there are people in the world, you know, like, but his response was, when I wake up every morning, you know, the first thing I do is talk to God. Before I go to bed every night, the last thing I do is talk to God, and we stay in conversation all throughout the day. And I was just like, oh.
That is a perfect answer.
It is perfect. Yeah. Perfect answer.
Mm.
And so it's interesting because it was after that, I think it was after that he confessed that he hadn't read my bio.
That's awesome.
I don't know how this works, Bobby, except that that you know, how do you know? Like, there's just certain things that happen or don't happen where you're like, you know, he wasn't making up that part of who he was to try to pander to what I wrote.
Yeah.
He hadn't read what I wrote. He wasn't trying to be somebody other than who he is. What ended up happening from that interaction was very quick. This thing happened very quick. So we messaged for a couple days, decided to talk on the phone 2 days later. And the next day, supper time, he sends me a message, and this kind of leads to another topic. So this message says, at what point do you think that it would be okay for us to meet? And and I was like, ooh, like, I mean, there's a distance involved in this situation, so that it's not easy, but you know, but I just said, you know, I'm somebody who would rather meet somebody to see if there's a connection there sooner than later, just so that we don't invest time, you know, texting and then eventually meet and just kind of feel like, maybe we're better off friends, or, you know, that conversation. So he asked me that question. I'm like, well, you know, sooner than later, I don't know when works for you. Like, how might this work? And ready for this?
Yes.
He said, well, after we talked on the phone last night, I decided that I want to meet you. So I went to work today. I redid my schedule. So I opened up Friday and I scheduled my Thursday meetings in your direction. How about this weekend? And I said, wait, you did all of that before you asked me the question. So now, if I was not interested, and I'm saying this as an offering to mankind, if I was not interested, that would freak a girl out.
True that.
That would freak a girl out. So I'm not putting this on a to-do or not to-do list. It's purely situational. But I was interested, you know, and so when he did that, I was like, ooh, that's really attractive. And so the scene that comes to mind is in the movie First Night with Richard Gere, Sean Connery, that scene where Sean Connery as King Arthur, like, invites someone from the kingdom to walk this gauntlet, right? And there's a guy that's getting suited up, like he's getting whatever pads on to go.
Yeah, arm like padded armor to go through to survive this impossible gauntlet. Yeah, I know the scene really well.
Yes. And what happens then? Richard Gere, as this guy's getting suited up, he just walks behind him up the stairs, not suited up, wholehearted, did not protect himself. And I do believe that's part of what helped him get through, is that he didn't have all that bulk. He could move and maneuver or whatever. but he steps into gauntlet. And that is a real life example of what I believe dating at this age for us is a lot like. Like, we can have checklists where somebody might check all these boxes off a list, but they might never step up to the plate. They might not ever step up and do what it takes to be in a relationship with a person. And then there's somebody who may not check a box or two off that list, but they step up and they do what it takes to get through the maneuvers of how does this work or how does that work? And there's a timing and there's risk and, and that's girls and guys, that goes both ways. So it's not one or the other, but he stepped up to the plate pretty wholeheartedly, took initiative.
Yeah.
And,
so that actually reminds me of an episode that we did about bold gestures. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Taking bold gestures. And I'm going to tell you, just to kind of bring this wagon full circle here. I believe the number one genetic encoding for a man, and look, I'm happy to do this. I'll take it all the way back to Adam and Eve. It's for a man to initiate. Now, taking initiative and being bold are two different things. Mm-hmm. I think your guy certainly took initiative, and he was bold, and he took a risk.
Yeah.
Which I love. Like,
yeah.
Because he already had his answer, your answer, before he even asked. And I freaking dig that. I just dig it.
Me too. Yeah. And then
wait, hold on.
Yeah.
How did it go? Okay.
I will say this. I have to say this. There was a point in my life where I thought, 3 strikes, I'm out, I'm benched. I've been in the game. I'm going to watch from the sidelines. And I held on to that for quite some time. And about a year ago, I've been single for quite some time too. So about a year ago, I was like, Shannon, perspective shift. No. I'm not 3 strikes. I'm out. I'm benched. That's not how the story ends. I just, I get to have a happy ending too still, And so this idea hit me like, oh no, I got the bases loaded. I'm going to hit this out of the ballpark. And it's a grand slam. I'm going to get my grand slam. And you know what then? That wasn't big enough. I wasn't big enough yet. Like, literally within the last week of realizing where I'm at, I felt like, oh no, like God is in this. God is bigger than a ballpark. God is out of this world. I'm not hitting a grand slam. I'm not knocking this out of the ballpark. Like, I'm knocking this out of this world. Okay, so ready now?
I love it.
Now, that's the shot I'm calling. That's what I'm aiming for. And I know that some people might be like, really, Shannon? How long have you known him? How many times? Blah blah blah. Like all that static that we get in our brains. Like I get it. But my heart, when your heart knows, your heart knows. And I have felt at times like my heart has known something, and then the other person's heart has not been in the same place. So I know what that feeling feels like. what is so new about this at this age or time in my life is that both of us feel the same way. It's huge. So if I were to leave a final message for anyone who's going through the pain of dating, that hopefully you can find ways that make it fun and exciting and not draining, you know, like help ease yourself through this process as you're, you know, attributing time to others instead of your kids and all the stuff that we've talked about. Like I would just say, just keep going, keep learning. You'll get there. Like I want to believe that for everybody. And
that's the perfect place to end it.
Yeah, that was it right there. That was the ending.